Welcome, and good to have you with us. And we're going to go into the share. And we're actually in the middle of the Torah Temimah's commentary. What Torah Temimah was commenting on was that story about 120 years and how the understanding is that the human body totally decomposes after 120 years, that it takes 120 years. And the Torah Temimah was questioning that and questioning how accurate that is from a number of points of view. And we still have some more to do. This is like the third week that we're actually looking into this, and we're in the middle of, as you can see, we've done material up to here, and so here's what he says. This is starting his
Do,
conclusions,
do we
right?
need to do the
We
prayer?
do. We didn't do the bracha. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Maybe I
Amen.
can blame that on the cold.
Yeah.
Okay. V'chein tzarich lomar. So, in fact, we are going to have to say, Dema she'amar chozer kulo letarvad rekev. That when it says, quote, as it were, it returns entirely to a spoonful of dust. Love dafka. It's not exactly, it's not meaning it absolutely. It's not rigorous about that. Davka kulo mamash. It isn't exactly all of it, in fact. Ela kamo kulo, but it's almost as if it's all of it, right? We shouldn't take it too literally. It's so interesting, right? That after going through a lot of careful consideration and evidence, he reviews that statement now and says, don't take it literally. Understand that it's making a general statement. She, hooray, because in fact, etzem, go back all up the way up here, echad, there is one bone in the human body, yesh ba'adam, there is in a human being, she'eino nirkav le'olam, that never does decompose. So there is a little element, a bone, in fact, in the human body that never decomposes. Now, again, scientific, I don't know about that. I just know it's an idea. It's an idea. So, Ukemevu'ar beVereshit Rabbah, as is explained in Bereshit Rabbah, Perek Kachet, chapter 28, Ve'od bekama makomot, and again in other places as well. Here's the story. Andrianus Hadrian, right? Sha'al et Rabbi Yoshua, asked Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania. Mehechan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, matzitz, and the matzitz he's going to say, he gives us a little bit of an easier word, mafriach et ha'adam la'atid lavo, and I'll translate that, right? He asked, from where does the Holy One, blessed be He, grow or cause to emerge the human being in the future time? In other words, this is a belief in resurrection, and it's saying there has to be something physical from which this physical resurrection is going to take place. Amarle, so Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania said to him, Miluz shel shidra, from the luz, from this hazelnut of the spine, that there is this little vertebrae or whatever we want to call it, little bone in the spine. Amarle, so Hadrian said to him, Minayin ata yodea, how do you know that? How do you know that? Amarle, he said to him, that Rabbi Yeshua responded, Aiti li va'ana modialacha, bring one to me and I will show you. Tachanu barechaim, so they found this vertebrae that he was referring to. They ground it in a mill, velo nitchan, and they weren't able to grind it up. Sarfu be'esh, they burnt it with fire. Velo nisraf, and it didn't get burnt. Natnu b'mayim, they put it in water. Velo nimche, and it didn't, or nimcha, and it did not melt. Right? It didn't dissolve. He cut alav bepatish. He smashed on it with a hammer. Velo chasar klum, and nothing lacked from it. It still remained entirely whole. Adkan. So he's saying that's the end of this reference that he's making in the story, right? That Torah Temimah is making. Vayitachen lomar. So it would appear that one should say, Shehi ha'etzem shehamakubalim korim la naschui. So that we could, it's quite possible that that is the bone that people who either Mekubalim means mystics, or maybe people who are who understand these things, but I'm not sure. Mekubalim usually refers to mystics, right? Korim la, they call it nischui. And I was looking up like the Philosopher's Stone or things like that, and there's something referred to as, but I think it is actually something different, right? V'zchuto rav, and its value is very great, or its merits are very great. Mipnei, for the reason, shelo nehenet me'achilat eitz hadat. Why not? Because it did not benefit when human beings ate from the tree of knowledge. And the tree of knowledge, of course, is what brought mortality into the world. Now, this word nischui, nesech, can also refer to melting and something like that. And so I was trying to look at this word nischui. I could not find the actual word itself. So I was looking up at various meanings of the word nesech, right? We talk about basically it can also mean libation or something like that. But it can also have to do with a meaning to melt. So perhaps that it doesn't melt, that it somehow it has, has a reference to metal, etc. So something very strong. So Eitz Hadat She'achal Adam Harishon, the tree of knowledge with which Adam, the first man, ate. And he says, Yen b'sidur. This is interesting, actually. He says, look at the sidur of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, Rabbi Jacob Emden, be'inyan su'udat motzei Shabbat, regarding the su'udah, the meal that you have at the end of Shabbat. So I did look up Rabbi Jacob Emden. Here we are. He's also known as Yavetz. He's referred to as Yavetz. These are his dates. Was a leading German rabbi and Talmudist who championed traditional Judaism in the face of the growing influence of the Sabbatean movement. You know that was a messianic movement, but also there were ideas that in messianic time many of the laws, Torah laws, would no longer be functioning, and they were believing that the Shabtai Tzvi, that's the Sabbatean movement, and it was very destructive ultimately. He was acclaimed in all circles for his extensive knowledge. So that's Rabbi Yaakov Emden. So we know the reason why I think it's significant is because Shabbat itself is supposed to be a taste. Experiencing Shabbat and actually observing Shabbat is supposedly a great gift that God had given the Jewish people, in that it is a little taste of Olam Haba. It's a little taste of immortality. And so as one leaves Shabbat, Motzei Shabbat, the end of Shabbat, there might be some significance to the third meal that you have there. And somehow there's must be details in this Sidur of Rabbi Jacob Emden. Vayitachen, and so it's quite possible. Asher al Shem Luz, it because of this word, the name, right, or the noun Luz, ze she'eino nifsad, that's something that doesn't diminish in any way, right? Karu l'shem ha'ir Luz. That's why they called this particular city Luz, right? We said that Luz is a name for this particular bone as well, this particular vertebrae that never deteriorates. And so they said that he's saying here that they named this city Luz, She'aleha Amru, because concerning that city, Va Sancheriv, they said that Sennacherib, the Assyrian conqueror, Velo Bilbala, he wasn't able. What the Assyrians did, of course, was they took people who lived in one region and basically assimilated them into other regions, and that's why, in other words, throughout their empire, their method of of ensuring their conquest was to move people from one place to another and to actually break up communities so that they no longer have an identity. And that's why we get the idea of the 10 lost tribes. So Sennacherib was not able to do that to mess up this particular city of Luz. Wasn't able. Nebuchadnezzar, and when Nebuchadnezzar came, the Babylonian king, right? He was not lo hechariva. He did not destroy it. That Nebuchadnezzar, of course, was the Babylonian king, who ultimately destroyed the first temple. V'af malach hamavet ein lo reshut la'avor ba. And even the angel of death does not have permission to go through it, to traverse it. And this is based on a Gemara in Sota Min Vav Bet. Ve'ein laharich od, and there's no need to go into further details about this. There's no need to go any longer over this. So, of course, this raises interesting issues going on here, and especially when I get to material like this, there are reasons why the people come up with these particular ideas. And so generally I try to think what I can as to what are they really trying to say. That not necessarily this particular story about the Luz, etc. To what degree is it scientifically provable? I sort of have my doubts, although I certainly find it interesting if there was some evidence of it. Or else, what is it trying to say? Is it in fact saying that there is a level of immortality that is built in to every human being? And when it comes to the whole notion of immortality, that I do have a tendency to have more belief in, because I don't think we know really what consciousness is. And then, of course, when you look at nature itself, and, there are times when I'm absolutely fascinated by a tiny little seed that is capable of producing such an amazing, and the variety of flora that exist and that ultimately come from seeds of various size, some of which are very small, less than a millimeter in diameter. And yet the plants that can emerge from these tiny little seeds, to think that all that information is packed in that seed, and simply with the soil, and the chemicals in soil, etc., and water, they can develop in the way they do. I feel that immortality is one of those areas which we just need to be open about. So this particular story here, we have to, I don't just dismiss it. I feel that there are reasons why people say these sorts of things, and to try and determine, what is the element of truth that is trying to convey to us. So if there are any comments, I'm very happy to take them. Just raise your hand, or I'll just pause a second. All right. So on to the next verse. So the verse is this one here at the top. Vayar Hashem, and the Lord. So by the way, you can see Maftir. We're getting very close to the end of this first parsha of Bereshit, right? Vayar Hashem. Hashem saw. Excuse me one second. I'm going to have to pause this. Okay. So just we'll end a little early, but anyway, the verse is, the Lord saw ki rabba ra'at adam ba'aretz, that the evil of human beings in the land was rabbah, was great. V'chol yetzer machshavot libo. And I'm going to call it the desire, right, or the imaginings of people's hearts. Rak kolayam. We're only wicked, we're only evil for the entire day. And we'll just quickly look at this here. Ki Rabbah. So that's what he's going to comment on. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, said Rabbi Yochanan, Dor Hamabul, the generation of the flood, Berabbah Kilkalu, they went astray with the description of Rabbah, great with great. Shene'emar, as it says, Ki Rabbah Ra'at Ha'adam, because it says, great was the wickedness of human beings. Uva Rabbah Nidonu, and so they were judged with this idea of Rabbah, of great. Shinemar, as it says, and this is in Parshat Noach, Nivka'u kol mayanot tohom Rabbah, split up were all the wells of the great deep, and there's the great again right there. And we will stop here today, and God willing, we will pick up next time with this particular verse and looking at the Torah Temimah on this. So I'm going to stop the share. And if are there any comments? Otherwise, I will stop the recording. Okay, all right.